Hi, welcome to Astro Babble. I'm Donna from Donna B Astrology.
And I'm Lynda from Scullywag Astrology.
And today we are going to be talking about the new moon in Leo. The new moon is going to be at 23 degrees, 17 minutes of Leo, and it's at the 12th mansion is the mansion that it's going to be happening at. And this is called the Changer, and it is of the nature of Saturn and Venus. The keywords are conflict, strife, combat, separation, constriction, hindrance of movement. It signals conflict and confrontation. I got that from Christopher Warnock's book, The Moon Mansion. So this is a mansion to be aware of to make sure that you are staying out of conflict, if that is not something that you want to enter into.
Yeah, very interesting. Particularly, you were saying the moon mansion is of the nature of Venus and Saturn, you said.
Yes.
Yeah, we have Venus with the new moon. It's 5 degrees away, but it's pretty close. And I believe, I can't remember the exact date, but this is not long after the Venus Cazimi.
Yeah, this is the 16th that the new moon's on, and the Kazemi happened on the 13th. So
Saturn can't see this new moon, which is helpful. It's an aversion, and either can Mars, the other malefic. And we have Jupiter square it in Taurus, and Uranus exactly square it. So this could be a little bit shocking, a little bit interesting.
I saw that square to Uranus. It's pretty darn close. It's 17 minutes apart, so
Mm,
very close.
yes. Interesting too with this Venus square Uranus. We had that. It was maybe the last aspect that we did in the last video. I'll put a link to what we spoke about there. But this is the second of 3 Venus Uranus squares uh, over a couple of months. We had a Venus square Uranus when Venus was direct. This is the one happening when Venus is retrograde. And we will have one a little bit later when Venus is direct again. So, interesting.
Very
So,
interesting. And it seems to be a quiet month, or a quiet fortnight for the most part, it seems.
no, some there, but like, yeah, it's not jam packed. So, which is probably just as well with Venus retrograde. Uranus is going to station retrograde. Oh, and Mercury is going to station retrograde. So, yeah, we've got a lot of planets changing direction.
Yes.
And a couple of sign changes too. So, a couple of planets are going to change signs. So, not not super jam packed, but a lot going on. And yeah, kind of higgledy piggledy. We won't know whether we're Arthur or Martha or up or down, I think. Yeah, makes me wonder how this will go for relationships in general. You said that this moon mansion was very much the nature of Venus,
Venus and
Saturn.
Saturn.
Mm.
Mm.
And with
Yeah.
Uranus squaring this new moon, and kind of we've got those 3 Venus Uranus aspects happening over several months. Well, we just had it, the one with the retrograde Venus.
I think it would be a good aspect to because we're working on Venus stuff, right? So because Venus is going retrograde, and Uranus is too. So I'm wondering if we need to shake our love lives up a little bit. I'm not saying go out of your moral code. I'm just saying,
Mm-hmm.
do something instead of going to a craft show, go to an auto show, just back and forth.
Yeah, yeah. We spoke about this in the last, what was it, the full moon in Aquarius. And even things like, because Venus retrograde does have kind of an 8-year cycle when it returns to where it was, maybe changing things up to how they used to be, even, if you've drifted so far from how it was, 8 years ago, maybe returning to that might be an interesting idea too. But yeah, just a lot of shaking up going on with that Uranus square this new moon. And I mean, we just had that Venus Uranus, and then this new moon being the whole nature of Venus Saturn, which is all about duty and obligation. It's the kind of long-term, more sober, committed relationship, whereas Venus is a very different animal. So should be interesting. May break some relationships perhaps, or have some relationships being reassessed. But not just relationships either, just Venusian topics, what you do for fun, what you enjoy, art, beauty, harmony, socializing. So, yeah, interesting times.
Day to try new foods, a good time to try new foods as well,
Yeah.
because Venus is all about taste and
And being in Leo, maybe our appearance or creativity. So shall we have a look at the horoscopes for the, what is it, new moon in
Leo. So happy birthdays to all the Leos.
And we recommend that you read or listen to your ascendant sign horoscopes rather than your sun or moon sign. But naturally, you can listen to your sun or moon sign if you want. But the way that horoscopes are written, it just makes more sense to listen to your ascendant sign, because that's how we're reading it. Like for Leo ascendants, we put Leo on the ascendant. When we get to Virgo, we'll put Virgo on the ascendant, etc. Just gives you a better indication of what area of your life will be impacted. And yeah, we did a video explaining all that, and we'll drop a link to that in the comments.
So if you are a Leo rising, this is going to be happening in your first house. And it's a good time to change a hairstyle, not too radically, because when Venus is in retrograde, you don't want to do too many radical things or you might not really like it. So, but this is a good time to start a project, anything that is personally something that is something, one of your goals. So this is the time to start it. It's time of planting the new seeds and you know what you want to see like 6 months down the road. So this is the time for the Leos to start new things.
Yeah. And if you are a Cancer ascendant, this new moon is happening in your second house. The second house is income, finances, and resources. So there may be new beginnings to do with how you value money, how you value possessions. You know, we've got Venus retrograde also happening in that house. So you might be reassessing, like, you know, does this really bring me joy to have the latest phone, the latest this, latest that, this aesthetic? You know, it might be something that you're reassessing, and maybe you'll be making some changes there. It could also be that there's a new form of income stream, a bonus at work, could be a new savings plan, could be you get or are gifted something of a resource that's helpful to you as well.
And because you're Cancer, you know, this all the moons, the new moons and the full moons seem to affect you just a little bit more so. But if you are a Gemini, this is going to be happening in your third house. This is the house of extended family, your brothers and sisters, early education, as well as short-term travel. Could even involve your car as well. So this is new stuff that's going to happen with these people, things, and places, and you know, stuff that's just in your community, and you know what you were exposed to in your younger life. Really, this is the house where that happens, and for new stuff to happen in there. Could have to do with short-term travel.
And if you are a Taurus ascendant, this new moon is happening in your fourth house. The fourth house relates to our parents, our home and living situation. It also has to do with real estate matters, heritage, homeland. It's a very private house. So new beginnings, this could be something to do with your parents. Maybe they're setting out on some new venture. It could be moving into a new place. It could be somebody coming into the home. Just trying to think. You have Uranus and Jupiter in the first house. So, yeah, an exciting time for our Taurians, I think, because Taurus is ruled by Venus, so Venus is retrograde, very close to this new moon. And then you've got Jupiter, which expands, it's a lucky planet, it's a benefic, and Uranus, which is a little bit shocking and surprising. So exciting times for our Taurus ascendants.
Very fun.
Hopefully, yes.
If you are an Aries rising, this is going to be happening in your fifth house. This is the house of hobbies. It's the house of your creativity. It's the house of fun and entertainment, as well as children. So you'll be starting new things in those areas. With Venus in their retrograde, it's asking you, maybe it's a time for a new hobby. Maybe it's time for a new, if you've always gone to sporting events, try going to a concert. Yeah. So that's the kind of mix up that this is possibly asking you to do.
And if you are a Pisces ascendant, this new moon is happening in your sixth house. The sixth house has to do with illness, pets, and those that work for you. That could be an employee, it could be contractor, it could be a subordinate at work. It's also associated with service to others. So people that work very much for the public. We're talking about police, doctors, nurses, firemen, all that sort of thing. That is also covered by this house. So there could be new beginnings there. You could be entering the academy to study something. You could be embarking on a career which you will be of service to others. But yeah, new beginnings to do with pets. It could be career matters, in that if your career is associated with being of service to others, then yes, it may be career related. But, it could be a new employee coming on board. It could be a new pet.
And if you are an Aquarius rising, this is going to be happening in your seventh house, this new moon. So this new moon is going to be in the house of the significant other, as well as the committed other, or and when I say committed other, that means if you are committed to a dentist appointment, you're committed to the dentist. A hair appointment as well. It's the one-on-one relationships. If you have if you are committed to meet with somebody at a particular time, you are committed. So that's what I mean by that. This is a time to set those new starts. If you are wanting to get into the hairdresser, then you might be making an appointment if you're an Aquarius rising, or starting to get the ball rolling on some of these appointments that you need to have done, to live safely and have all your I's crossed and your T's dotted and that type of thing. So this is the house that you'll be starting with just the one other. So it could be a business partner, but it's the one-on-one relationships. If you're an Aquarius rising, you'll be starting new things with that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know how our Aquarius risings are doing with Venus retrograde in the seventh house and a new moon there being squared by that Uranus in the fourth house of home and family. And if you are a Capricorn ascendant, this new moon is happening in your eighth house. The eighth house is other people's money. It's shared finances and resources. It's inheritances, taxes, loans, debts. So there may be new agreements. Maybe, you're pooling money with somebody for a business partnership or a romantic relationship. You decided to pool your resources together. Or it could be, there's a separation. So there's a new agreement come up, how you separate those resources and finances that were built together. So yeah, new beginnings. The eighth house isn't the most joyful house. It's, tends to be a little bit, but, for some people, it may be a loan comes through. Maybe you've applied for a loan and you weren't sure whether you're going to get it or not. And, it may come through at this time.
And if you are a Sagittarius rising, this new moon is going to be happening in your ninth house. This is the house of possibly foreign travel. It has to do with other countries, as well as higher education, publishing, law, legal matters could also be there, and occult matters. So this could be something new that you're starting in any of those themes. Yeah, with the Uranus shaking it up, be something new.
Yes, could be quite exciting. And if you are a Scorpio ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house is the house often associated with a career, but it's also public reputation or what we're known for. So there may be new beginnings. It could be you land a new job or there's a big new project at work. Could be a new boss because this is also the house of authorities. Yeah, and it's not just that. For many, I see this with, you're getting married or you having a baby, the moon might be in your 10th house at this time. So this is not a full moon, though. This is kind of new beginnings, seeds being planted. So maybe you're just starting out on something that will get you wider attention for whatever reason, because the 10th house is very, very visible. So yeah, these are just beginnings, though. This isn't like, oh, I'm getting the accolades at this time. This is just starting out, and because the moon's dark at this time, it's all this stuff is going on underground, it's not seen, it's all being formulated.
If you are a Libra rising, this is going to be happening in your 11th house. It is the 11th house, this new moon. You'll be planting seeds and starting new things with groups and associations, as well as your hopes and dreams. This is squaring Uranus, so you might have a little bit of shakeup with it. But this is the house that you would be planning new things with the groups and associations, and as well as your hopes and dreams. So this will be new things.
And if you are a Virgo ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house is our undoing. So this can be addictions, self-defeating habits, escapism, just things that kind of, take you away. It can also be places of confinement like hospitals, prisons, and places of retreat, whether that's, going on a spiritual retreat or just locking yourself away, working behind the scenes. With Uranus and Jupiter squaring this new moon, Uranus in particular, by degree from the 9th, the reasons for this may have something to do with foreigners, the law, which would be interesting for people going to jail, but also publishing. So, maybe you decided like, yep, I'm going to write that book, and you're going to, and that doesn't necessarily even mean that you have to take yourself away somewhere to the woods to write. That could be just dedicating a couple of hours every day or every week, just taking yourself out of that picture somewhat, exiling yourself in some way.
That is very interesting when you said, because it's happening in the 12th house. So with Uranus squaring it with legal matters, it would be very shocking to find yourself in jail. I would think so. Yeah, I would. If you are a Virgo rising, I'd really watch my P's and Q's, I'm thinking.
Well, hopefully it's not that, but just as difficult would be, landing yourself in a hospital. But,
That as
and
well would be
yeah.
shocking.
And then, the 9th house is also things like religion and beliefs. And yeah, so it could be quite interesting. But hopefully not. Hopefully it's just, something a little bit more mundane and a little bit less exciting.
A great idea to write a book would be another reason to that would
Mm,
fit this, the Virgos as well.
yep. Yeah. So, but yeah, new beginnings, new starts related to those topics. And Donna, have you got a
Do I
stone
have a
for us?
stone? I do. It's not really a stone, but it is very much goes with the Leo. This is called lion's paw.
Oh,
It is normally found, well, it normally grows in the deep in the Atlantic Ocean. So that's it.
pretty.
It is a shell, and it's a pretty thick shell. It's an epibenthic bivalve, which is the type of animal or creature that it was. But I use this for harmony, balance. I use it for the higher, what I would think of what would be a leader, like a lion would, the greater qualities of that. It's patience, it's insight, it's understanding others' problems. That's what I kind of use this for. Mental clarity, relaxation, open-mindedness. These are all those qualities that if you are looking for it, this is a great stone to use. It's relatively hard. I would say it's probably about a Mohs hardness, about a 4 or 5. So that is called the lion's paw, and it is so cool. It's got very soft energy.
Good for creativity, or
Not as well. It does as far as what needs to happen in order for creativity to happen. So it offers that balance. It gives you the clarity. It gives you that broader view of what needs to happen in order for the creativity to take place. It's one of those stones. When somebody comes to me and they have issues that they're trying to get stuff that they need to have happen, and they're not quite sure how to address it. So it's more focus. I use it for focus, for action focus. So it is that lion kind of energy that can go in there and make their presence known and get their point across, and it has that kind of energy. So that's what I use it for. And I will be writing an article about it.
Very nice.
It is very an interesting stone. Just to hold it, just to hold it, it does give that sense of what needs to be done. It's called lion's paw.
And onward with the aspects for the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so the first aspect we have is Mars trining Uranus. We've been talking about this. It's going the other way. It's actually making that trine. So a trine is a easy flowing aspect. With Mars in Uranus, this is an aspect that could, have something go south. But it could also be an opportunity to break free and do the things, do something different. Do something that you want to do. This is offering that type of energy to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, a lot of quick action. Both Mars and Uranus both like to move quickly. Could be a little bit hasty, perhaps. But yeah, talk about get things done. With Mars pretty close to Mercury, which will be already in its shadow period, it could be kind of some crossed wires, which could lead to some interesting outcomes, perhaps. But yeah, this is fighting for, a cause. This is kind of great use of revolutionary energy, I suppose, if you can find a good revolutionary cause. I see that we've got Pluto at 28. I mean, that's 5 degrees away from both Uranus and Mars, but it kind of forms a grand trine. They're all trine each other. Could be quite powerful, but yeah, it needs to be well managed. That could get very dicey very quickly.
I can see how that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
With all that trine, and then there's that opposition to Neptune, within 4 degrees. So you might not see things as clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, that opposition to Neptune. Mercury close to Mars and it being within the shadow period of its upcoming retrograde. Yeah.
It could go either way, and we all have free will. And that happens on the same day as the new moon, so four
Yeah.
and a half hours later. Yeah. So then the next aspect is retrograde Venus is going to square Jupiter. Ooh, these are two benefics that are meeting up. In a square, it's causing tension. I'm not so sure that it's going to be bad, but it's still a little bit of it could cause tension, but I don't think so. I really don't. And with Uranus is right there, it might be different. It might be out of the ordinary, but I think this is kind of a nice aspect.
Yeah, I think the
If I
main
had to put my
thing,
money on one side or the other, I'd put it on the nice side.
yeah, I think if anything, this is kind of overindulgence. This is too much of a good thing. With Venus reevaluating what she likes, what she enjoys. She's recently had that square to Uranus, and she's going to have one later on. Maybe she's trying out new things and maybe she goes a little bit overboard. Yeah, usually I see Venus square Jupiter, I think, hangover.
Yeah, no discipline.
Yeah, well, that
Watch
Jupiter just
overindulgences.
expands. Yeah. And I mean,
Mm,
Jupiter's in Taurus, which, very sensual sign, knows it knows what it likes and it likes what it knows. So, and Venus is in Leo, trying out new things, being squared by Uranus, wanting to check out the new and exciting. And yeah, I just think, it's like you said, it's not dire or deadly or anything. Yeah, you just might overindulge.
well, it happens on a Tuesday, so at least it's not a normal drinking day.
Oh, it depends who
If you
you
save
are.
your partying till the weekends, I don't know. Forget I'm not judging anybody. So anyway, the next aspect is going to be Mars's opposite retrograde Neptune.
Mm, yeah, dissipation of energy. Neptune can really kind of drain things, and it's just very formless and no boundaries. Can, also lead to confusion. So Mars is often aggression or anger or drive. So, you may be irritable and not really know why. We've got that Mercury very close to that Mars again. It's not retrograde yet. How slow is it? It's holy moly. It's only at 9.3% of its usual speed. That Mercury is really, really slow. It's going to, one of the other aspects we'll look at very soon will be when it stations, but it's within its retrograde shadow period. So you could already have snafus and that, you think somebody said this and you're upset with them and, they have no idea why you're angry at them and glaring at them. And yeah, there's just a lot of potential for mix ups or just and it doesn't even need to be aggression or anger. It could be because this is also drive and ambition and just pure energy. You may be thinking, I'm going to go do this, and you don't really know what you're doing, and or you get the wrong equipment. And yeah, it's just really easy with Neptune. What am I not seeing? It's just interfering with Mars's ability to move forward in some way or express himself.
Yeah, this is also a day. So I said earlier that it's a Tuesday. It's a good day to avoid drugs. It could lead to escapism here. So be careful on drugs taking. If you're going to take a new drug, really make sure that it's not going to affect you. This is a time when drugs can really affect you in a negative way. And then I was going to say we were going to have the sun is going to move into Virgo. This is going to happen on Wednesday, the following day, if you are on the East Coast. So that's what I'm doing this for, or that's how I have it. in my notes. This, when the sun goes into Virgo, you absolutely want to journal, because anytime a planet or a luminary or the sun moves into a new sign, something could significant could happen in that house where Virgo resides for you. So yeah, this is a place where Virgo is, or the sun is fine to be in. But yeah, I would definitely journal.
Yeah, so we'll have 3 planets in Virgo then, an earth sign, and we'll have 2 in Taurus, Pluto in Capricorn. So what's that? 6 planets in earth signs. That'll be interesting. The sun has entered Virgo, so happy Virgo season to all the Virgos out there. But yeah, that sun's getting ready to catch up with that Mercury, which is going to station very soon. You can see if you're watching this on the video, it's got an S here, which means that it's really slowed down. At this point, it's down to 4.3% of its usual speed. And wherever the sun is in your natal chart, so wherever Virgo is, over the next month, it will be shining its light in that area of your chart. So you'll probably have more to do with the topics and people associated with that natal house.
And then the next aspect that's going to happen, or the next planetary movement that's going to happen, is, as Lynda was alluding to earlier, is Mercury is going to station retrograde, because it was down to 9% of its speed. Now it's at 0. So it is going to start looking like it's moving backwards. It doesn't really move backwards. And Lynda and I did a video on Mercury retrogrades and how they are a while back. So she will hopefully link into it. Or you can look onto the our YouTube homepage and get the video for what does a Mercury retrograde look like? What does it do? How does it work? And how does it affect us? So very interesting. And it happens about every 3 times a year. I don't want to go too much into it, but it is going to be changing directions, and it's going to be reassessing everything. So
with that Mercury video that we did too, we also have a section where it goes through all the houses. So if you know where Virgo is in your natal chart, you'll be able to, I'll do a separate little video just on what Mercury retrograde through the houses means, and I'll link to that as well. Mercury is going to be retrograde from the 23rd of August to September 14th. The shadow period is from the 3rd of August to the 30th of September. So even before the Mercury retrograde, there's a kind of a period where it's kind of leading up to it, where you can experience Mercury retrograde type problems. And there's a period after it as well. Typically a time where you might have problems with communications, with cars, with just delays, setbacks, snafus, just, send an email and you forget to put the attachment on, and then you don't check your email for 3 days. And, of course it was important. So, it's just a hassle really. But, Mercury's retrograde 3 times a year. It's just really interesting when you notice that when these things happen, it's often during a Mercury retrograde or during one of its shadow periods. Easy to misunderstand things. We were talking about that Mars Neptune kind of getting angry because you don't really know why you're angry, but you kind of misdirected anger, and that Mercury didn't come up. If it had kept going forward, it would have actually come up to oppose that Neptune, but it's not going to do it just yet. But it's 5 degrees away from an opposition with Neptune, which certainly doesn't help matters.
It is definitely within what are the horseshoes, so it's definitely close.
Yeah. So yeah, typically a time of just mixed signals, miscommunications, paperwork needs to be redone. You sign 50 papers, but you forgot to sign on page 6, so you got to go back and redo it. Just pain in the butt things, really.
So prepare. That's the whole point of us doing these videos, is if you know that it's coming, you can rearrange your decision makings, your life, so that you can counteract any negative aspects, these retrograde planets might cause.
And, this happens 3 times a year. So, I mean, sometimes you can't, some people say, oh, don't sign contracts, don't do this, don't do that. But, sometimes you can't avoid it. But that's where double checking that you've got all the details correct, making sure, before you take off to the airport that, oh, yes, I've got my passport, double check the itinerary, is the plane going to leave on time? Allowing a little bit more extra time for that important meeting that you have to get to because there could be traffic congestion. Just little things like that just help remediate that sort of thing. It's going to retrograde back from 21 Virgo all the way back to 8 Virgo.
And so the next aspect is going to happen on the following day. Mars trines Pluto. Both of them are rulers. One is the modern ruler, one is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So gotta wonder how much Scorpio is going to show up for these, even though none of them are in Scorpio. It's interesting that they're connecting like this in a trine, so things will move fluidly. It'll be easier. Mars is in charge of separation and fire and heat. Pluto is that transformation energy that it brings. So those would definitely be going on.
Yeah, a lot of transformative energy with the outers. That trine does allow Pluto ease of access to that Martian power. Yeah, it's just, this could be a little bit dicey, particularly if you have planets either at 28 Virgo or roundabout 28 of Capricorn. We do have Uranus at 23 Taurus. What's that? 5 degrees away from making a trine to both of them, forming that grand trine. So that kind of ease of those 3, kind of all the planetary energies ricocheting around in that triangular shape. But yeah, Uranus kind of throwing a little bit of a surprise element in there. I just would be a little bit wary. How fast is Mars moving? It's not too bad.
It's a good time to, if you're looking for what you want to change in your own life, this is a good time to do that deep dive to get that energy to pull you through any changes that you need to make. This is, that transformational energy. Mars can help if if you are in the position where you can ask for it. Yeah, but if you're working towards the greater good, society wants all of us to advance, and this is good energy for it. It could seem scary, but this also could be very beneficial for getting us to that, what we need to change in our life. With Capricorn at the end of that sign, it's asking us to change for something, and this might be the drive and the necessary fuel that we need to do that change.
Yeah, with Mars not long or far away from its opposition with that Neptune, close to that retrograde Mercury, I think, yeah, just be very careful of jumping to conclusions if you can. Try not to let people trigger you, I suppose. I think this would be very easy for people to get upset about perceived slights, and just, yeah, it's very easy to jump the gun here. I think if you can keep a cool head, it will be greatly to your advantage.
Good advice. Good advice. And so the next aspect is going to happen is the sun is going to be opposite retrograde Saturn. And this is an aspect that could really deplete your energy. This may just suck all that energy that you had going. This will give you feelings of restraint. This is going to feel like something's holding you back.
When you were saying this is going to suck, and I was thinking in my head, it's going to suck all the joy out of your life. But yeah, me and Saturn, we're not the best of friends. But yeah, you may feel like, why me? Why is it always me? Just feeling a little bit hardly done by, Saturn's already retrograde, just feeling, those limitations and restrictions a little bit more than usual, perhaps. Yeah, this is just, it's just, but the sun moves fast. Just keep your head down, keep moving. Some things just got to be done. We all have those days, and
I'm not so sure how to how you would spin that where, it's good to have no energy.
mm, well, I don't know if you got to rest up, I suppose. Sometimes, there's what's the word, wisdom in actually resting. But yeah, I see this more as, just a depressed mood, feeling a little bit hard done by.
So be prepared for that one. And that's on Sunday, the last Sunday of the month.
Mhm. And then we have Mars entering
And
Libra the same day.
ooh,
So Mars will be in detriment. He's not in a sign that he's comfortable in. He's in a Venus ruled sign.
I have to admit, I like Mars in Libra. If I were going to have Mars in any sign, I like Mars in Libra. It's that because Libra is asking Mars to, make sure everybody's heard and, sit down and be diplomatic. Don't go in fist flying. Go in there with kind words and get your point across nicely. That's why I like it.
Yeah, I get your point. Like if you were the antithesis of something, if you've got to be the complete opposite of something, you may as well be the complete opposite of a malefic. So I see your point there. But when it comes to things like actually standing up for yourself, this could be where they find it a little bit difficult, I think.
Yeah.
It's lovely to be able to see everybody's point of view and to want things to be fair. But if you're being oppressed and, sometimes, and some people will not give anybody respect until somebody stands up to them. And I think that's something that Mars and Libra could have trouble with sometimes.
Yeah, I see your point. That is definitely something to keep in mind.
But yeah, this is Mars. He's like a warrior, and he's, I keep thinking of like, it's like G.I. Joe, but he's in the Barbie movie. It's like, what am I doing here?
He can fight with a feather duster and
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 a
a
pink
pink
tutu.
scarf.
Yeah. Well, you could use a scarf as a garrote or something. But wherever Libra is or Libra is in your natal chart, you may have more activity, more energy, more aggression too, though, related to the people and topics associated with that house. So if this was in your third house, maybe planning to do something more active with siblings or those in your local neighborhood would be a good idea rather than kind of, letting it devolve into fights, and it's not, if you do this, it won't happen. It's just, you've got to use the energy. So try to, if you know where it is, like, so for example, this is in my 10th house. It'll be going into my 10th house. So this would be a great time to put energy into work, physical energy, particularly too, because, Mars is a very physical sign. But, if it's in your 7th house, you don't want to be fighting with your partner. So maybe plan activities or, think of a better way to use that energy.
Very nice. And then the next aspect is Uranus is going to station retrograde. And, Uranus has been in Taurus for, for quite a number of years. I think since 2015, maybe 2017. It's been in there for a number of years. It's going to be in there a couple of more years. What Uranus is, it's been in the sign for a while. We hopefully know how it's acting towards us. But just going backwards, it's readdressing things that might offer independence, freedom, revolutionary ideas. That's all what Uranus is wanting you to do.
Yeah, Uranus, along with Neptune and Pluto, they station for about 5 or 6 months every year. They're very slow moving. They're quite a way out. It takes 84 years for Uranus to go all the way around the zodiac. So, it kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's inching its way along, and, it's going to retrograde. I suspect, like, I personally don't notice the retrogrades of the outers much myself, unless it's contacting a personal planet or chart point in your own natal chart. So if you have planets close to 23 degrees, particularly of the fixed signs, so that's Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Leo, I'd say maybe 2 degrees either side. So what's that? 21 to about 25 degrees of those signs. You might notice it more significantly than others. But yes, it will be retrograde for quite a while.
We had it. It takes 7 years to go through the sign, so and that we're going to have even another retrograde period for Uranus in there too.
Yeah, quite possibly. And even when it does eventually go into Gemini, it'll retrograde back into Taurus for a little bit. It's not just like, yep, I'm in Gemini, I'm never coming back for another 84 years. It's like, well, I'll go back for a little bit and come back. So,
We had one more point that we wanted to talk about.
yeah. Stirring up trouble.
Go back and readdress.
And that was the last aspect. And then we have the full moon in Pisces. Oh, with Saturn close to it. Fun.
Oh. Now this is good. Do they call this a blue moon when it's the second full moon in the month?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
The first full moon was on the 1st, and this is only the 30th. So this will be a blue moon.
In a calendar month. Just trying to think, how many days are in August?
31.
Oh, okay. Because I was just thinking, for Australia, it might be tipping into September, but no, it'll be the 31st. But yeah, blue moon. Yeah, so Saturn with the full moon. Jupiter, which rules this full moon, is sextile it. Where's Venus? Venus is in aversion. And Mars is in aversion.
So it's Saturn is the malefic that is on the spotlight for this full moon. Very interesting.
It will be interesting. Well, we'll get to that when we get to that. So, Donna, what are you offering and where can people find you?
I am offering year ahead readings, natal readings as well, horary electional, as well as I do energy healing and crystal work with stones. So if you're an alive person and you've ever experienced trauma, you want to keep your chakras balanced so that you can make sure that your body has the abilities to heal, is how this whole thought process for the chakra balancing goes for me. And you can get a hold of me at www.donnabastrology.com. Has my contact information on my website right there. So, Lynda, what are you doing and what are you offering and where can people get a hold of you?
I'm at Scullywag Astrology. That's astrology.scullywag.com. I'm offering natal readings, year ahead, and relationships readings. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Check out the links because there will be links to Mercury retrograde, the dynamics behind it, but also, what you can expect depending on what house it's in. There was something else we had that we were going to link to, I thought.
The ascendant.
Yep.
Why you would read your ascendant.
Mm-hmm.
And the link for Lion's Paw.
Yep. Well, there was something else as well. And, if you're still battling with Venus retrograde, and let's face it, who isn't? There's a video that we did on Venus retrograde. I'll put that link in there, and also link to the first bit we did about the first Venus square Uranus aspect we had before Venus was retrograde. I think that's got the dates in it of when the following ones are too. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your likes and your comments and your shares. We really appreciate it. If you're listening
Very
on
much
the
so.
podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you liked us and rated us. And yeah, hope the
Thank you for listening.
I hope the new moon's very good for you. So thank you. Ciao.